Check your bulk.
Yeah, Bobby, Christine, and Lynn are in the back.
On Twitter about how playing on stream feels like to me sometimes as going out versus hanging out. And you posed some questions or some feelings about that too, like thoughts about like when you're playing Commander with friends, whether it's like going out or hanging out.
Yeah, like there's a difference between going out and hanging out when you
Right.
play Commander on spell table.
Yeah.
And I found that a lot of the time that difference is
on
whether or not
stream for me.
I'm live, right?
Yeah.
Live on stream, right?
Yeah.
So I was wondering if whether you're live or not has a difference for you.
Oh, it does. Yeah. Yeah. If I'm asked to go on a stream, on someone's stream, I oftentimes consider that. I don't think of it as hanging. I mean, I definitely think about it as hanging out, but it's not, right? It's hanging out. I'm not changing my behavior in some way dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess that's a lie, right? I guess what I'm thinking about is like we're trying to make each other laugh and we're trying to engage with one another. So I don't think of it as like I think of it as like a performance for one another. So when a lot of times we think about the performance, we oftentimes think about, it being done for someone else. But my time spent hanging out with people in like the improv community and like friends, we just kind of improvise with one another. We did it to make each other laugh. We did role-playing games to make each other laugh. We did games to make each other laugh and sort of engage with one another and to play or poke fun at one another. And that is, try to create a connection in whatever way we do. And so when I think about magic over spell table, that's difficult. And when when I'm hanging out is definitely, it means that we're not trying for that. We're not trying to engage as much. We're just trying to exist next to one another. And I mistakenly sort of thought most people on spell table, if they're streaming a game, they're wanting, a going out. Like we're trying to make each other laugh. We're really engaging and listening to each other's plays and the words we're saying. When a lot of times it feels like people are, there for the game. The game is the focus, not the people and the connection so much.
Yeah, even on some live shows, I find that energy, which is surprising to me because on a personal level, I enjoy the hanging out energy. I enjoy when it's just kind of about the game. When there's no performance, I can really enjoy those kind of games. A lot of the times, it would be like specifically what I'm looking for. But if I'm looking for that, I'm not going live with it. Going live for me implies the performance. I'm there for the audience, and I'm there to provide something to people. And that kind of obligation is not on when I just want to have a hanging out game. Like, it's all right if it's a little more about like me and like if I get like kind of distracted or lose like focus on something, like that's okay because we're just hanging out,
Right. Right, exactly.
I enjoy that kind of energy, but essentially I do my best not to take it live because it's not entertaining in my opinion.
We're just casual, we're cozy, we're all looking for those words to describe what those experiences are, but I'm not sure what those are exactly.
Chill, casual, cozy. We may not have it exactly, but this distinction of hanging out versus going out, I think is very helpful, and I'm gonna try and promote it, try and like get it permeated a little bit until we find something more accurate and more useful. Because I now know, because I've like thought of this distinction between the two. I now know like if I'm in the mood to play Magic, that's like the top of the umbrella, and then there's underneath that. Am I in the mood to go out and play Magic, or am I in the mood to hang out and play Magic? That's another like huge one. And there might even be some streams where like I should only play on that stream if I feel like hanging out. Because if I feel like going out, then I'm gonna bring a different energy than the host is trying to manifest. I might end up being like a little too belligerent or like too like chatty, or like maybe I'll get annoying. I don't know. Like I'll be insecure. The fact that I'll be like insecure about it and thinking about like Am I being too much? Means like I wanted to go out and play Magic that night, and I should come on this stream if I want to hang out and play Magic. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I know on a personal level, I can like change my behaviors and like pick more effectively the pods that I'm in based on how I feel of one of the two.
I've been on ScrapTrawlers, and I know that now, based on watching a bunch of ScrapTrawlers, I realized like the episode that we were in, you and me, and with Gorex, when I met Gorex for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
I met Gorex for the first time on that stream, and that was a very chatty stream. That was like 2.5 hours of Andy playing sound effects to Deanna and you and me playing Magic the Gathering in with these budget decks that were going on. So
that sounds like a lovely little group.
Yeah, it was. It was a chatty group, but it was so different than what I usually get when I go to ScrapTrawlers. You know what I mean? It's like let's go into the tank, let's play some music. That's part of the show, right? The tank is kind of the content, the sort of thoughtful play that will proceed from the masterwork of genius, of the next play on that person makes. And I'm someone that's like, I just want to giggle and laugh, and I don't care because after a while.
I feel like a key ingredient. I feel like a very key ingredient to bringing a little bit of that. We're just gonna giggle a little bit. Let's just giggle a little bit about it. Like, let's just make jokes. Let's have fun. Like,
Gorex is someone that makes it fun for me. I met Gorex that night across the battlefield, and I fell in love. I was so envious of your Gorex at Tombshell deck, so I made a Gorex at Tombshell deck. I made one.
Yes. I don't know if I've ever had anybody do that before. I had just had a commander and I inspired them to make one. I'm so honored.
Well, you and Gorex deserve it. You just look like you were having so much fun in that game. And so I wanted to make one. And I super enjoyed the thought process of picking a Gorex, like putting together a Gorex deck. Because I think when we think about going out and hanging out, there's also that thought of like how certain commanders like Dargo or certain cards can really have a high end cap in terms of their power and effectiveness on the battlefield. And I think Gorex sets the tone that you are not going to like combo out the table when seated across from Gorex. Like, it would be surprising if you died to Gorex CDH deck or something like that, right? Like,
right.
A pub stomper running around with Gorex.
I will take my Gorex deck if I'm going out or if I'm hanging out. I'll take him on either page. But ultimately, my Gorex deck is trying to hang out with you.
Right.
It wants to give you a little something to look at, a little something to deal with. A big turtle and his shambling, stinky little horde to be a problem for you, but not to be the end of you, I mean, to be a little blunt about it, he's not Wilhelt or Verena.
Right. Because I love zombies. I really do, and I was super excited when I saw the Wilhelt Precon, and then I bought it, and then I built it, and I tried not to put in an altar, but I put in a Relentless Dead, and I still was like not going infinite, but I was going near infinite and just like slowly destroying the table, and it never felt right. And then I started sitting down at the table, and people not groaned, but knew what was in store for them. Because I was like, I'm not going to do Rooftop Storm. I'm not going to do Gravecrawler. I'm going to use this Relentless Dead and Gary to kind of win. But it just was kind of slower and clunkier. And it was almost like more frustrating for the table that I was trying to kill them in this way versus like the just cleaner way that I could have done it the whole time. So Gorex is a treat in the sense that I get to play some fun zombie cards and play some of my favorite things.
I'm guilty of those groans, like that moment you had, Wilhelt, before you found the truth. I'm guilty of those groans. I've actually I played against a player who brought Wilhelt out, and I made some too harsh assumptions about where their deck was gonna go with it, and I dealt with their resources early on.
Yeah.
In a way that I did not have to, and in a way that made them essentially not get to play. Because I made assumptions based off two things. This player was playing Wilhelt, this player casted a Vampiric Tutor. So I was just like, we're all dead. That's just like, we're
Yeah,
all
right.
gonna die. So I'm gonna deal with this.
Yeah.
I am never going to be so terrified off of 2 cards when I'm fighting a Gorex deck. I will mostly just be delighted.
We have community day on Wednesday. So this Wednesday,
Yes.
you're bringing your Gorex, I bring my Gorex.
While we're at it, while we're doing our community day in the Bobby Christine Lobby Christine Discord every single Wednesday, we should see if anybody has a turtle deck.
You're saying this Wednesday, turtle decks get priority for the queue.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
priority for the queue. I think it was fun in building the Gorex deck was that dealing with this like high CMV commander. He's 8, 6, 2 black.
That
And
chunky
finding
8.
Yeah, and then finding some bulk picks that really supported him. And one of my favorites was Morbid Curiosity. 1 black sorcery as an additional cost to cast Morbid Curiosity, sacrifice an artifact or creature, right? So I'm imagining Gorex is on the battlefield and it says, draw cards equal to the converted mana value of the sacrifice permanent. Oh!
That's genius. And I know that I would not have like run across that or come across that. When I look at Gorex, I'm like zombie turtle, and that's it. That's all my brain wants and all it
Yeah.
needs. You were like, that is an 8 CMC.
Right.
And you're right. It's an enormous CMC, and there's absolutely Morbid Curiosity is perfect for that.
Yeah, it seemed like I'm going to have this turtle, and if the game is going right, I'm going to eventually have shaken the turtle for all its little zombie, creations inside of it and spilled them all back into my hand. And I thought the turtle is going to be worthless to me. And then I will have to sacrifice it. And that would be like the perfect way to do it, I thought in my head, was to sacrifice it and get draw 8 cards. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I feel like you fill Gorex up like he's your piggy bank, like your turtle zombie piggy bank. You fill him up with zombies and like you shake them and you get a couple things out, and then you're like, all right, this, and then you've emptied it for the most part, but there's still more in there, and that's when you Morbid Curiosity just smash the piggy bank.
Sprinkling them all, the body splat onto their ground. Yeah.
My bulk pick is Loyal Subordinate. This is a 3/1 menace zombie, which alone as like the power level that I'm at, that's pretty sweet for me. Like I'm not like that's not all I'm trying to get out of a thing, but still that is still pretty sweet for me. A 3/1 evasion body with the zombie type on it. The secret is the lieutenant ability. It's not much of a secret, it's right there on the card. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, each opponent loses 3 life. So of course I'm gonna have Gorex out. And at that point, essentially you pay 3 mana to deal 9 damage, which seems absurd to me. And if this card makes it another round, if this card makes it 2 combat phases, that's 3 mana to cause 18 loss of life, which feels bananas to me. Like it feels really strong. And then I'm buffing my zombies and he's a zombie, and then I get that menace punch in and he's doing a little extra work on top of it all.
Yes, I have used him to great effect in my Florian deck, and I have won games just having that on the battlefield. Loyal Subordinate is a great thing. That menace too on the body is super great because you're right, more times than you can count. You're like, yeah, I get to swing in for a little 3 extra poke for sure. So
it's that sneaky loss of life instead of damage.
I hear you. It makes sense. Loss of life too gets around Sarah's Emissary. Those cards that are like you can't take damage, or what I mean, like from creatures or something like that. It like works because protection doesn't stop loss of life.
And the Morbid Curiosity's got to be like one more sneaky thing to do with that 8 CMC.
Oh, yeah, there is. There's one more thing you can do with it, which is Soldevi Adnati, the Solvedia Adnati. It's 1 and a black. It's a cleric. That's a 1/2. Sacrifice a black or artifact creature to add an amount of black mana equal to the creature's converted mana value to your mana pool.
Now, with that 8 mana, I would sink it into Dread Summons. What would you sink it into?
Oh, Dread Summons? That would be so good.
That's totally what I was thinking into.
Oh, I want that card in my deck. The Dread Summons would be super. Yeah, Dread Summon. That's it. That would be perfect because, right, you're sacrificing Gorex, and then you're making more food for him, right? Like making all these creatures on the battlefield and then making all this food for him. I think that's a great idea, Bobby Christine. Yeah. You're right. I didn't think about it. I was like kind of just seeing if I could do the mana. My other thought was like taking a nihilistic point of view, and I was going to put it into a Killing Wave. And Killing Wave is X and black. For each creature its controller sacrifices it unless he or she pays X life. And so my thought was like, damn it all, and you're just like, make everyone pay 8 life if they want to keep any one of their creatures on the battlefield. So it was kind of like, if I'm going to lose my turtle, you're going to lose everything. I don't care about my board. I want them all to die because I'm just going to feed them to Gorex and bring Gorex back.
They'll be precious with their permanents too. They're just gonna take damage.
Some of them will, but 8, if you get it up to like 8, yeah, maybe 7, 6 damage, 7, 6, or 8 damage or something like that, it could be a lot. So I picture that, but however, I am very much interested in a Dread Summons now. That would be the move. I'm gonna I'll make some changes tonight. So I think a Dread Summons is a great, like I had this moment picturing Gorex from being born, cast the first time when it eats its graveyard full of delightful treats, to the moment that it dies, when I sacrifice it out of morbid curiosity. One such thought, and this is where I don't think it's going to happen, but I like to put some sort of, fun moments within a deck, and the Keen Duelist is in the deck for that reason. So the Keen Duelist is 1 and a black. It's a 2/2 human wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, you and target opponent each reveal the top card of your library. So you show each other your top cards. And you each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. So, I'll lose whatever you show me and you lose whatever I show you. Gorex being an 8 body, like CMV, my thought was like at some point he may end up in the graveyard, right? If I'm holding in my hand a Mortuary Mire or a Foot Bottom Feast, my thought is at some point I'd be like, you destroyed Gorex. The Keen Duelist is sitting out there, and I would manipulate my top deck so that Gorex would be on the top to smack someone for 8 in the face. And I think the card is great. I think it's great to draw a card. I think it's good in Commander for flavor. But that's like a little side quest I'm hoping for to happen with the Keen Duelist.
That's beautiful. I really like the idea of Gorex being able to go to the graveyard and still be useful. You can like pay it off with like these anime siblings, like Master of the Turtle, like hanging out on his shell, like coming out of nowhere, slinging him at you for 8 damage.
Right. As we were joking before, like bullies picking, I still love the thought of like the bullies picking on them and like, we're going to get our turtle. And they're like, these kids are so idiots. All they've got is a turtle to defend them. Whatever. We'll meet you after school. And then they meet after school and there's Gorex, like this sky darkens and this fetid smell. Like all you hear is the hum of flies just buzzing about, in front of them. And then the kids are like, what's that smell? And then Gorex just over the top, like, yeah, Gorex. So
that's what you get for bullying us.
Exactly. Check Your Bulk is a Bobby Christine and Lynn Frank production. You can find Bobby Christine on Twitter at BOBBIECHRISTXNE. And you can find Lynn Frank on Twitter at Lynn V. Frank.